Hi everyone, it's Tony Tonkin here from the Child Protection Party. I haven't broadcast to our YouTube page for a long time, so apologies for that, for those 100 odd so subscribers that we have on YouTube. Hope that some of you find the space and the time to connect with us today about things that relate to child protection so that we could have a conversation if appropriate. But there is one thing that I wanted to talk about today, and that was particularly QAnon. So you might have seen by the title when you opened up the Facebook page that talking about QAnon is our subject. I said QAnon and other crap. Not too sure what the other crap is specifically right at the moment, but I'm sure I'll find some if need be. So QAnon seems to have been this entity that's taken on a relative degree of influence, power over the last 3 or 4 years, probably particularly since Trump has become president of the US. And as a result of that, he spreads QAnon theories. He endorses, I think, to a large extent, QAnon principles and theories. And I was actually going to do, so I have this YouTube page called, YouTube site channel called Things That Matter that I run with Avery. And I was thinking, well, should I put this on that one, which is kind of a more general chit-chat type thing, or whether I should just have a conversation with you. Now, I thought that the reason why I put it on the Child Protection Party page is that primarily because it is about a child protection issue, and it's also about whether or not the CPP believes in these theories. And I just wanted to clarify the fact that we don't. That conspiracy theories are theories that are based, not wholly, I won't say that, but the majority of the theory is based on fact. Where those facts come, are not based on facts, pardon me, and that where most of the ideas in terms of these conspiracy theories come from is because they're trying to attack somebody or an organisation or a way of thinking that most of these people disagree with. So you'll often find that on the right of most political parties will sit some conspiracy theorists. There are very few conspiracy theorists on the left. For example, if you attend, apparently, as I've just been watching on YouTube, if you attend a Trump rally, you'll hear a lot of people talk about wearing QAnon t-shirts, talking about QAnon as being this cabal that has this notion that pedophiles are running rampant within the Democratic Party. We had a woman here in Australia by the name of Karen Brewer who was spreading the same garbage about anybody that had a political connection whatsoever. And she didn't really care whether you were left or right, apparently. But she spread terrible rumours about people, and she eventually was caught out and has since left the country, I believe. So we need to be careful about what it is that we say, number one. I did do a post on that at some point. And we also need to make sure that we are clear that we do not subscribe to conspiracy theories, that there are that the claims expressed by QAnon are completely unfounded. And, you know, the problem I think that we have is that if we're going to spend a lot of time disputing some of these claims, we're using up time that could be talking about other things. So this is the last time I'm ever going to talk about QAnon because I'm kind of over the whole thing. But I just needed to go onto our YouTube page and mention how where we stand with regard to conspiracy theories overall. Now, look, I've been working in the area of child protection in particular for 30 years. And I can remember there was a time when the conspiracy theories around ritual abuse were abounding some 30 odd years ago. And someone came to me who was a counsellor in an organisation that I was working with at the time, who was telling me about this ritual abuse that was happening south of our city, and I didn't dispute what she was saying because she was a credible person. But what I did ask was for any evidence to demonstrate that this was actually happening as she had said. And there wasn't any. There weren't people coming forward. There weren't children talking about it. There weren't adults talking about how they were abused as children. There was none of that evidence. And we need to draw a line in the sand between pedophilia and the collection of pedophilia data, the collection that pedophiles make of videos and pictures and other stuff that are just so unseemly, and the distribution of those. Now we know that happens because there are police organisations that set up in order to catch those people that traffic in pedophilia. We know that it happens, and we know that there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world who participate on the dark net and elsewhere in order to exchange information. Now, we know that happens because there's evidence to demonstrate that it does. In terms of, and they're all, look, I'm the first to admit that there are all sorts of people that are involved in that. Some of them are people in high profile jobs. And I don't have a problem with the fact that there are lots of people across the board who are involved in pedophilia. And we know that some of the pedophile acts are of the most horrific possible nature you could imagine. So we're not disputing that, and that is something that this party is determined to fight against and to have eradicated, and have those people that commit those crimes brought to justice in the most severe possible manner. So this is important, that we're not disputing pedophilia. We're disputing the erroneous claims made by organisations such as QAnon that tie people unfoundedly to horrific and terrible acts. If people are committing these crimes, then I expect that the government will find ways to have these people investigated and arrested. I don't believe that there's a whole body of people out there that are trying to protect pedophiles per se. And I don't certainly believe that all those people are people that are on the left trying to protect their own, because people on the left supposedly are those people that are committing these horrific acts. I'm hoping that children will find the space to be able to talk about their experiences in terms of their abuse, whatever that might be. And those people that are abusing these kids, I'm hoping and praying that they will be able to find a way to have these people, eventually the society will have a way to have these people arrested, charged, and sentenced severely. But there was so there was an article in the South Australian Advertiser where an associate of Scott Morrison, pardon me, has been shut down on Twitter. Now, this is the other interesting aspect of this I wanted to talk about. And this person's been shut down a second time because they applied for another account. So when they were closed down, they applied for a ban of. So they've got this ban evasion policy, which I didn't know about. So if you're banned and you open up another account, you're in bigger trouble. And if you're caught, of course. So this person opened up this other account, but he was promoting bizarre right-wing theories around QAnon. Now, my concern with that is that there are people of influence having conversations with people of influence, such as premiers, prime ministers, governors, and in the United States, presidents, about some of these conspiracy theories. And if you're, I was going to use the word weak-minded, but I won't. But if you're not connected to reality, you are likely to believe some of these obscure and bizarre statements that are made by these conspiracy theorists. And this could be dangerous because can you imagine if you used a conspiracy theory, an unfounded theory, to go after somebody else who has not committed a crime, who themselves are probably repulsed by the idea that they would be even considered in this cabal of pedophiles, that and that this stuff. So what happens is someone comes up with a conspiracy theory around somebody in relation to pedophilia. They themselves are not a pedophile; they're horrified by it, and but the label, because it's out there in the public domain, sticks, and people start to associate these people with pedophilia when they're not. And how would you feel? Well, I know how I'd feel, but how would you feel if that happened to you, and that someone declared that you were a pedophile when, in actual fact, it's the most repugnant thing you can imagine. And so we need to be careful about the people that are peddling these sorts of influences and who they're peddling it to. Now, one of the issues I have is, why would you do this? Like, what's in it for you? And I think for some people, there are things that they can't explain. They can't explain, why people are pedophiles. They can't explain, which I have trouble explaining as well, but they can't explain why the people on one side of politics have a particular view over the other side, and that if they see those people, because of those views, they see them as corrupt, then they give them the most obscure, corrosive title you can imagine, which is, I guess, the label pedophile. To think that they're saying at certain levels, they're saying that Hillary Clinton and a whole host of Democrats would drink the blood of children, that sort of stuff, that they'd be sacrificing kids. There are no specific cases of ritual abuse of children, and I've been told now. There may be people that might say, "Look, Tony, I've told you about cases of ritual abuse." I think one person that would tell me that. However, that it was never that person's experience. It was the experience that she was told of by others. If there's anybody out there that has ever had an experience of ritual abuse, I would hope that you'd come forward, talk to someone like us about that, so that we could take the most appropriate steps and have you protected. But I would like people to understand that, given the outrage that there is towards that QAnon brings to this discussion, there is very little, if any, evidence to support any of that. But unfortunately, people get accused of terrible things. It's like Karen Brewer accusing someone in Mildura of some horrific acts towards kids. And that they ran an organisation that cared for and looked after families in and around that area. And as a result of that, their names were besmirched by this woman who had no evidence whatsoever to support any of her claims. She was sued. Karen Brewer lost. She would never be able to pay the $1 million fine, disappeared to New Zealand. But, it's dangerous. It's just incredibly dangerous, and it damages people's lives forever. So what I'm asking people to do is to refute any claims made by anybody around QAnon or any conspiracy theory, unless you have facts, unless either you've experienced it yourself or someone you trust has experienced this form of abuse and can talk to you about it, then then I guess it has some sense of validity. I don't believe anything until I've been told it by the person that has experienced it. And I've been working in this area for over 30 years, and I've heard some horrific things, and I've heard some horrific things done to kids. There's no disputing any of that. But in terms of the things that QAnon are spreading, the conspiracies they're spreading, I've never experienced anybody with any knowledge of that whatsoever. But people tend to accept what others hear. So the Trump thing annoys me because people just accept what Donald Trump tells them without question. We should never accept what anyone in authority tells us without question. And we certainly should not accept someone who just continually lies all the time. So he has no credibility whatsoever in terms of the truth, so why would you believe him in the first place? And it's almost like we kind of want a savior. We want someone to save us from ourselves or from the worst possible elements of who we are or from the worst possible elements of society, and that we want someone to make us feel safe and secure. And so we look to whoever is the leader at the time to be able to do that. And in doing so, we tend to not see the falsities that person has to offer. And believe me, people like Trump have got plenty of them, but we tend to overlook them. I'm so interested in the fact that he attracts so many evangelicals, for example, because he's the most un-Christian person you could imagine, and he is a womanizer, an abuser of women, and he represents all the whatever you would imagine to be the Christian values. He kind of sees things differently, yet he seems to have this incredible support. So I'm still at a loss as to what is that all about. So just back to Scott Morrison's mate, who's Tim Stewart. So his account, well, this is interesting. See, his account had some 4,000 followers. So that was some 4,000 people that were either listening to him or believing what he had to say. And that in itself is rather concerning, given that most of what he said was crap. And his account retweeted numerous articles focused on child abuse and this deep state conspiracy. This deep state is run by people like Soros and the Rockefellers and others. And look, I want to know. Look, I tell you what, if the world was run by just these 3 or 4 people, it's like the conspiracy theories about Bill Gates, because Bill is one of the most successful businessmen of our times. It amazes me. Bill and his wife have got a reasonable set of values, I think. That's my assessment of them. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that Microsoft is kind of a monopoly. I have an issue with that. But as a person, I think Bill's kind of okay. But, and then you compare his set of values and principles to someone like Donald Trump, and, you just don't hear the left spinning the wild, unbelievable conspiracy theories about Trump that the right spin about those people that support Trump. And, the anti-vaxxers come out against Bill Gates because, he's been able to vaccinate most of Africa against polio and malaria. So he's done a fabulous job and he's spent his money accordingly. And so why would we have a go at him? Well, because he's someone of power and we can. And because it suits those people that don't have any money at all, I guess, to pull down those people that do. I guess that's... I've got a stack of other stuff that I want to talk about, but I'll do that on the Things That Matter page. I noticed that a few people have logged in since we've been here, and we've had one like, which is most unusual. So, but I just want to say, in closing, be careful of conspiracy theories. If you've got facts, that's fine. If you've got people that have experienced some of this horrific stuff, let's have them talk to us, and we'll have a conversation with them, and we'll deal with it. But at the end of the day, we're here to promote the well-being for children, all children, and we hope that you find a way by which you can join with us. And we are holding there is a federal election in Australia next year. We are so we're preparing for that, and if you can help us in any way to advance the cause of the Child Protection Party, please join us so that you can do just that. So in the meantime, everybody, take care, look after yourselves, and thanks for joining us in this discussion on YouTube.